Commander Zekthor of the Galactic Survey Corps stared at the readout with all four of his eyes, certain there had been a malfunction. The atmospheric analysis was clear. Toxic sulfur compounds, temperature fluctuations of 60 degrees within a single planetary rotation, gravity at 1.4 standard, and radiation levels that would require Class A shielding for any civilized species. Uninhabitable, he declared, updating the planetary database. Threat level extreme. Recommended action: quarantine and avoid. That had been 6 standard cycles ago. Now, as his scout ship descended through the supposedly lethal atmosphere, Zekthor watched in disbelief as structures dotted the landscape below. Not emergency shelters or military installations, but what appeared to be permanent settlements. His translator struggled with the primitive radio signals bouncing across the planet's surface. Catching fragments. Barbecue. Softball tournament. Bring sunscreen. The ship touched down near the largest settlement, and Zekthor's security detail insisted on full environmental suits. Through his helmet's filtered visor, he watched a bipedal figure approach wearing nothing but thin fabric coverings and some sort of brimmed head protection. "Howdy," the human called out, extending a hand in the universal gesture of greeting that humans had somehow convinced half the galaxy to adopt. "Welcome to New Texas. I'm Mayor Patterson. Beautiful day, isn't it?" Zekthor's suit registered the external temperature at 43 degrees Celsius. His species would have begun cellular breakdown at anything above 30. You're not wearing protective equipment," Patterson laughed, a sound that Zekthor's research indicated was positive but seemed entirely inappropriate given the circumstances. This is just summer. You should have been here last week, hit 47, now that was hot." "Impossible," Zekthor muttered, checking his readings again. "Our xenobiologists classified this planet as incompatible with carbon-based life." "Well, that's the thing about us humans," Patterson said, guiding them toward the settlement. "We're not really picky about our carbon arrangements. Coffee?" The settlement was even more disturbing up close. Humans walked freely in the deadly atmosphere, engaged in recreational activities. Small offspring played in areas of direct star exposure. One human was voluntarily submerging themselves in liquid water while others stood around cooking animal proteins over open flames, deliberately creating more toxic smoke in an already hazardous environment. "This is a death world," Zekthor said flatly as Patterson poured a steaming liquid from a pot that had been sitting over a heat source. "Your own databases classify it as such," Patterson shrugged. "Death world camping spot, perspective, you know? My great-great-grandfather came from Earth and he said this place reminded him of Arizona. Minus the scorpions plus the acid rain, but you take what you can get. The acid rain, yeah, that was a pain at first. Ate through our initial prefab structures, but we developed a polymer coating and now it's just free exfoliation for the vehicles." Patterson grinned. "Plus it keeps the tourists away. You'd be amazed how many species can't handle a little pH of 4. Zekthor's assistant, a Vrelian with exceptional mathematical abilities, was frantically calculating on her datapad. "Commander, their settlement patterns indicate a population of over 3,000. They've been here for 12 standard years. Somehow their mortality rate is below galactic average." "Below?" Zekthor spun toward Patterson. "How is that possible?" "This planet is trying to kill you." "Sure," Patterson agreed cheerfully. "But so is everywhere else if you think about it. Earth tried to kill us with hurricanes, earthquakes, and drop bears. Space tried to kill us with radiation and decompression. We figured if everything's trying to kill us anyway, might as well pick somewhere with good sunsets. You should see them here. The sulfur compounds make the sky turn 17 different colors." A young human child ran past, chasing something that looked like a local fauna, a creature that Zekthor's scanner immediately flagged as venomous. The child's parent merely yelled, "Don't let it bite you again, Tommy. You know you're allergic." "Again?" Zekthor felt faint. "Developed an antivenin," Patterson explained. "Took a few months of trial and error. Lost some livestock, but we got there. Actually, the venom has some interesting medical applications we're researching. Might cure Zalarian bone rot." Zekthor's worldview was crumbling. His entire career had been built on assessing planetary viability for colonization. He'd written 3 textbooks on the subject. He'd personally classified 847 worlds, and these humans were casually living on a planet that should have killed them thousands of times over. But the gravity, he protested weakly. The radiation. The temperature swings. Great for bone density and muscle development. Patterson counted off on his fingers. We've got solar panels everywhere, so free energy. And the temperature thing just means we've got seasons. Winter gets down to about -20. We break out the jackets and have ice fishing tournaments. A human female approached, covered in some sort of glistening substance. Mayor, we need to talk about zoning for the new brewery. Also, my jog this morning was great. Finally broke my personal record in this gravity. Jogging, Zekthor repeated numbly. Recreational running. In 1.4 gravity, on a death world. It's really more of a challenge world, Patterson corrected. Death world sounds so negative. We prefer to think of it as character building. Zekthor looked around at the thriving settlement. Humans were everywhere, engaged in commerce, child-rearing, agriculture, and what appeared to be planning some sort of festival. They'd built a civilization on a planet that the entire galactic community had written off as impossible. I need to file a report, he said finally. Sure thing. Oh, but before you go... Patterson pulled out a device and aimed it at Zekthor. Can I get a picture? My grandson collects photos of different alien species. He's doing a school project on galactic biodiversity. Your grandson has school. Here, on this planet. Yeah, got a great education system. Kids learn quick when the environment keeps them sharp. Patterson winked. Nothing like a little adversity to build character. As Zekthor's ship lifted off, he stared at his report, cursor blinking over the planetary classification. Finally, he typed, Planet redesignated as habitable human standard. Warning. Do not attempt settlement with any other species. Humans have incomprehensible survival parameters. Recommend updating xenobiology. The galactic armory stretched across 3 kilometers of the station's lower decks, a cathedral of warfare technology that represented 12,000 years of military evolution. Commander Vexthor of the Krillian Defense Forces stood with his dorsal plates flared in pride as he guided the human delegation through the gleaming corridors. This, Vexthor announced, his translator rendering his clicks into perfect standard, is the Photon Disruptor Mark 7th. Effective range, 800 meters. Can punch through battleship-grade armor at half that distance. Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Coalition nodded politely, her dark eyes scanning the sleek weapon with professional interest. Behind her, Sergeant Marcus Webb maintained his usual stoic expression, though his fingers twitched slightly. A tell Vexthor had learned meant the human was thinking. Impressive, Chen said. What's the engagement protocol for close quarters? Vexthor's translator chirped in confusion before settling on a response. Close quarters? Captain, this weapon has an effective range of... I mean when the range drops to 5 meters. 2 meters. 0 meters. The Krillian commander's plates rippled with what might have been amusement. Captain Chen, no modern military engagement occurs at such distances. Our tactical doctrine eliminated close combat 3,000 years ago. The Photon Disruptor has predictive targeting algorithms that... Right, but what if those fail? Sergeant Webb interjected, speaking for the first time since the tour began. What if your power cell dies? What if you're in an electromagnetic dead zone? Vexthor's plates flattened, a sign of irritation. Sergeant, the probability of such cascading failures is infinitesimal. We have redundancy protocols, backup systems, emergency... Murphy's Law, Webb said simply. I am unfamiliar with this tactical designation. Chen smiled thinly. It's an old human military principle. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, usually at the worst possible moment. They moved deeper into the armory. Vexthor showed them plasma rifles that could slag ferrocrete, graviton cannons that could crush targets into neutron-dense spheres, and quantum dislocators that could phase enemies out of reality itself. Each weapon was more sophisticated than the last, each representing the pinnacle of a different civilization's contribution to the Galactic Coalition's arsenal. And after each demonstration, the humans asked the same question. What do you do when it stops working? By the time they reached the armory's central vault, Vexthor's patience had worn thin. Humans, he said, his translator adding an edge of exasperation. I understand your species is new to galactic warfare, but you must understand textbooks immediately, possibly also psychiatric evaluation for humanity as a whole. He paused, then added, They're having a barbecue festival next month. Attendance optional, but apparently epic. Further study required. Below, Mayor Patterson watched the ship disappear into the sulfur-streaked sky and smiled. "Nice folks," he said to no one in particular. "Should invite them back for the chili cook-off."